Welcome to Mum Abroad's YouTube channel, where I'm joined today by Grania Grözinger. Of German-British descent, Grania lived in the UK as a child and moved to Germany with her family when she was 6. She has over 30 years' experience as a freelance journalist and PR consultant, and for the past 12 years has had an integral role with Granny Aupair, an online portal placing women over 50 all over the world as au pairs or companions. Hi, Grania.
Hello, very glad to see you.
Thank you for joining me, Grania. How did the idea for Granny Aupair come about in the first place?
Well, about 13 years ago, the founder, Michaela Hansen, had a kind of eureka moment when watching a television program about a sort of documentary about young au pairs and their experience. And she suddenly had this idea, why is there nothing like this for older women who got a whole wealth of life experience and to share with young families? And she, as a young mother, she was a very young mother. She had some au pairs herself, but she said it was always like having a third child. And as she sort of missed out being an au pair herself, becoming a mother at such a young age, she thought there's lots of women probably like her who would sort of, want to have this experience or even repeat the experience when they were an au pair at a young age. And so 12 and a half years ago, she started the platform, and the first Granny went to Canada, and it just sort of rolled from there. Sort of, the press and took sort of picked it up, and everyone was very interested about it. And so, yes, it started from there and has been going on now for nearly 13 years now.
So who might be a typical granny?
Well, practically everyone over 40, 45 or 50, but most of the grannies are sort of between 60 and 70, I would say. So the oldest one was even 80. And, well, they're adventurous, open, caring. A lot of them have raised their own children and grandchildren, and or have had experience, if they haven't got their own children, sort of being a teacher, educator, nursery school teacher. And there's a big group also who are still waiting for their offspring to produce grandchildren, sort of waiting in vain, not until now, and still want to be fit enough to play with young children, to experience young children, and not sort of, with a sort of walking thing, I don't know what it's called, but or if their grandchildren, when their grandchildren come along, and they're married, single, widowed, divorced, all kinds of women from all kinds of experiences.
So it sounds like a real mixture.
Yeah.
Grania, what is it exactly that older women bring to the table that younger au pairs can't?
Well, first of all, a whole wealth of life experience, and with most of them having had at least their own children, if not grandchildren, they have had a lot of experience with children and aren't fazed with sort of, suddenly, well, even childhood illnesses, little accidents, whatever, school rushes in the morning, and because they've all experienced that before. And also, they're not glued to their smartphones all the time, and they're not sort of their reason for coming to a host family is they want to have a different culture and not sort of experience clubs, entertainment, whatever sort of lifestyle of a big city, or not obviously looking for a new relationship. I mean, we have had a couple who have found a new partner, but a lot of them are even married, and so. Yes, that's not the focus. It's not like having a third child. It's really having your sort of someone in the age of your own parents or whatever in your heart who's really going to help you with their experience.
I imagine that it's really useful for families who are living abroad, for example, and don't have their own family near them. They don't have their own parents around. Then this might be something that's really useful.
Yes.
Granny, do you need to have qualifications in particular, or a certain kind of experience to become a granny au pair?
Well, no, not really. I mean, the main thing is that the grannies feel physically and psychologically up to having this Granny Aupair adventure. That's what we always say, because of course it's not really easy going being with children all the time, and they really have to feel up to it. And also open flexibility, interest in other cultures, and also the willingness to accept the family's way of life. That's what we always say. They are not there to impress their way of doing it on the families, but sort of have to accept if a family want to have, I don't know, sort of not such a strict way of doing things with their children. They just have to accept it, and but sort of being open. And we also offer regular courses for grannies here in Germany, in Hamburg, so practically on a monthly basis, sort of workshop and info events, so they can prepare to become a Granny Aupair, but it's not obligatory. And of course we look at the profiles and everything, but you don't have to be an educator or anything like that.
So how are the grannies actually matched with families?
Well, they find themselves via our online community. They match themselves there. So the first step is to register for free on our website. And then the families can see all the profiles of the grannies who are looking, the full profiles of the grannies who are looking for placement, and vice versa. And then except for contact data, you can't see that. That's still protected. And to get in contact with the grannies and vice versa, you have to become a member. The next step would be to become a member. And we offer 3, 6, and 12-month memberships. And during that time, you can get in contact with as many grannies as you like. And many families do this because as compared to young au pairs, a granny mostly doesn't stay for a year, as she has her own family and grandchildren or children, house and whatever. So a granny mostly stays between 3 and 6 months. There is no au pair visa for Granny Aupair, unfortunately. The visas stop at 30, so they are on a private trip, which within the Schengen area is no problem. But if they go sort of like America or whatever, they are as a tourist. Yeah.
What type of families are looking for older au pairs or substitute grannies, would you say?
Well, all kinds of families, really. I mean, we've had families from, single moms, single dads, same sex couples, everything, large families, small families. But a lot of them are expat families, as you already said, who are looking for a bit of stability in the new country. Many are sort of in the process of relocation and really welcome someone sort of experienced to look after the kids, where the parents sort of will have to do all this process in the new country, or also bring a bit of a home country with them, or helps with a new language, for instance, or with a mother language, depending on where the granny comes from.
As you mentioned, Grania, you're based in Germany. But do you work with families all over the world? And are there any countries which are more popular than others, for example, with your au pairs?
Well, yes, we have actually placed grannies in over 50 countries. I always say sort of in every continent except Antarctic. And so, of course, COVID, unfortunately, threw a spanner in the works. Our most popular countries, used to be America, but that's coming back now. I mean, there was a small dip for COVID. Australia, China, UK, obviously, but this is a bit more difficult due to Brexit at the moment. But also like France, Spain, I think that was sort of, and a lot of grannies go to the what's it called in English, United Arabian Emirates, over Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Qatar, Egypt even as well. I think you can't, I mean, of course, there's always some countries which are only a few grannies go to, but those are sort of the ones I mentioned are the main ones, except unfortunately, China has, due to COVID, totally dropped from our map at the moment. Shanghai and the surroundings used to be very popular, but at the moment it's no go there, unfortunately. But you never know. It might hopefully change in the future.
Yes, hopefully things will open up again at some point, won't they? Grania, you grew up without your grandparents around and enjoyed having nannies and au pairs living with you. Do you think that your own experience has helped you to understand the needs of the families who you work with?
Well, I certainly hope so, because my mother was in a situation like many of our families. She had, came to England, Germany from England after sort of living in Germany and England for quite a while. Had just had her youngest child premature. Her mother had just died, and she had had two other children, and she just desperately needed help. And we had a whole sort of mixture of au pairs. We had young sort of internship girls, and we also had, which also put me in mind of Granny Aupair very much, one of two older women helping, so one following the other, not at the same time, as a sort of housekeeper, but they also cooked, looked after us, and that was a sort of Granny Aupair, really, what they were. And they helped my mother so the most, because he said, I know sort of sometimes the young au pairs were really like a sort of big teeny child as well. But it didn't, I mean, it really made us so really open for other people. We always enjoyed having them around. It was a fantastic experience for us as children. And that really showed me how, especially in a different country, how often women, obviously mostly, I mean men as well, but obviously it's really still the women who actually need help. And if in another country more than ever, just to, I mean, you have to get used to different languages, all the different surroundings, all the different ways things work. And if you have someone in a house who you can really rely on and say, okay, I don't have to tell her every single thing, how to cook, how to clean, I mean, not that the grannies are supposed to clean all the time, but just little things, how, and do a bit, just handling children. I think that's an absolutely relief for a family. Yeah.
Granny Aupair is also involved in several social projects. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, there are sort of several social projects where we also place grannies, but they have to sort of fill out forms for that. It's sort of more like not a matching process. You send your application there. There's I think about, well, we used to have 20 pre-COVID. I think it's a bit less now, but there's also mostly Africa, India, Latin America, for instance, helping in a care home or rest home in South Africa, but as a companion. That's very popular. Or Namibia. Then other projects are sort of like education projects, helping in English speaking or English teaching in the schools in Cambodia or Latin America, or also in African states like Gambia or Ghana, or in India, women's self-help projects, so that the women learn to support themselves, and in the projects, and the grannies help there. It differs to Granny Aupair. As in Granny Aupair, as the childcare Granny Aupair, the board and lodging for the granny has to be free. Everything else is sort of negotiated, I say, between the families and the grannies. But in the social projects, the grannies pay, or mostly have to pay, for their travel and accommodation and food. It differs from social project to social project, but it's it's not compulsory to be have free board and lodging, which is with Granny Aupair.
So just to finish, Grania, if you had to sum up Granny Aupair in 3 words, what would they be?
Well, I think experience, reliable, and worldwide. I think that would be it.
Sounds good. Grania, thank you so much for joining me today. I've really enjoyed finding out more about Granny Aupair. If anybody watching would like to know more, find out more about your services, they can visit your website. That's granny-aupair.com. And there, if there are grannies who want to apply, they can apply on the website, and also families who are looking for a granny will find out more there as well. And also your contact details will be there. Thank you, Grania.
Yes, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity. It's been really great. And also, thank you to Michaela for having this great idea nearly 13 years ago, and well, giving so many grannies and families the experience. Yeah, thank you very much.